art of producing and consuming grapes, grape juice and wine was and remains a cult for Moldovans, honored over the ages and entwined with traditions and their way of living. Even their small country, the Republic of Moldova, looks like a bunch of grapes on the map of Europe. Here, in the country between the Prut and Nistra rivers, the winemaking art has developed for centuries and won its fame before the First World War. In those days, Moldova asserted itself as the strongest wine producer in the region, exporting sparkling wines to many European countries, including France. Later, transformed into a Soviet republic, it became the largest wine supplier on the domestic market of the USSR. One of 2 wine bottles and one of 3 sparkling wine bottles consumed in the Soviet giant was produced in Moldova or from the raw material produced in Moldova, following its recipes and methods. However, despite a spectacular boom in the quantity of produced wine, there was an acute shortage of specially equipped facilities for wine storage, processing and aging. Much of the wine-making stock was stored in the open air, which led to considerable losses. The most inspired solution consisted in using as wine cellars the mining galleries which were used for stone quarrying. Thus, in 1952, Cricova Winery was founded near Cricova, a settlement located just 15 kilometers away from the capital, where the quarry mines supplying stone for the construction of Chisinau were located. During its existence, this enterprise passed through a history full of successes and failures, similar to the fate of the entire Moldovan winemaking industry over the past decades. Cricova overcame all difficulties and freaks of the history, asserting itself as one of the most sustainable and performing winemaking complexes in Moldova. Today, Cricova is a famous winery combining the traditions of Moldovan winemaking and the new international standards and requirements. It is proud of its unique underground labyrinths that shelter the secret of the excellent wines produced and stored here. The Underground City, as it is also called, is the greatest tourist attraction of Moldova. Cricova Winery was designated by law as an object of the national and cultural heritage. Still, before descending to the underground depths where Cricova keeps its wine treasures, let us rest on the vineyards washed in the sunlight, where the tale of the most praised and appreciated Moldovan wines begins. The Moldovan terrain and climate are the Garden of Eden for grapevines crops. The sunlit slopes and fertile soil where the rich vineyards grow turn the juice of the sweet grapes into a wine with unique personality. The grape, first transformed into must, then into wine, determines 90% of the quality of the final product. That is why Cricova Winery, as an enterprise with an integral production cycle, owns 550 hectares of vineyards from where it takes its own raw material. During the autumn, once the grapes harvest begins, the winemakers forget about their sleep. The qualitative wine is the ultimate end of the entire technological process, from the vineyard to the wine cellar. Currently, the company owns all the equipment needed to produce wine in line with the national and international standards. The enterprise has implemented ISO 9001 Quality Management System and ISO 22000 Food Safety Management System. The grapes are pressed in special vessels, then transferred into pneumatic high-performance presses where the liquid is separated. The obtained juice is transferred in containers for clarification. Then the clean juice is poured in fermentation vessels. It is here where the wine and its taste, qualities, flavor and color actually comes into existence. After the fermentation, the wine passes through other technological procedures of settling and treatment. The brand wine may follow two paths. Either it is bottled and sent for sale, or stored and becomes a vintage wine. The vintage stocks are not made every year. They depend on the characteristics of the products from the respective year. The vintage wine is stored in the underground galleries, which ensure the optimal conditions for aging of brand wines. The temperature is constant here of 12–14 degrees, ideal for the storage of wines and classical sparkling wines. Today, Cricova Winery produces a diversified range of red and white wines and over 25 brands of sparkling wines. Cricova Winery is unique by its sparkling wines made by the traditional French method of fermentation with an aging period of 1 to 5 years, méthode champenoise. The peculiarity of this method consists in the secondary fermentation of the wine in bottles at a constant temperature, which catalyzes the increase of internal pressure with natural carbon dioxide and enrichment of the beverage with refined aromatic substances. Once the sparkling wine reaches the expected maturation degree, it undergoes the remuage procedure. The lees formed during the maturation are accumulated near the cap. Then they are frozen and extracted by a special method called disgorging. When the sparkling wine is disgorged, some amount of liquor is added to it depending on the brand, brut, dry or semi-dry. After that, it is corked and after a final control, it is supplied onto the market shelves. Cricova sparkling wines are highly appreciated both by consumers and by subject matter experts, who bestow them awards and diplomas in various national and international competitions. Over 10 million liters of wine are aging in the silence and darkness of Cricova galleries. In this genuine underground city of wine, stretching over 50 kilometers in total and descending down to 80 meters beneath the soil surface, we can discover streets and boulevards named after the wines produced and stored here. Walking along the wine road, included in the National Wine Road, we can turn to Chardonnay Street, then to Cabernet Street, and farther to Codru, Dionis or Fitasca Boulevard, discovering that in order not to get lost, we need Ariadne's thread before feeling giddy in this chilly labyrinths, the home of wines. Then, to discover the local treasures, we must see the exceptional collection of wines hosted in a gallery dug in the form of a goblet. This wine collection, created in 1954, contains now over 1 million wine bottles from various periods and countries. Here, the rarest items included in the treasury of the Republic of Moldova are kept, such as the Easter Jerusalem, Ian Beher liqueur from 1902, brands of wine from Bordeaux, Burgundy, Tokaj, Moselle, bottles from Göring's personal collection. The collection is constantly supplemented and enriched. For winemakers, these samples are also an object of study, which they use to discover the secrets and the properties of quality wines. Other enticing sceneries in this kingdom of wine are the tasting rooms, where one can taste Cricova wines in an environment pleasant to eyes, inclining to poetry. The tasting complex of Cricova is formed of 5 rooms. The Presidential Hall is intended for official delegations and high-ranking guests. The bas reliefs of this room show moments from the history of winemaking and grapevine cultivation on the Moldovan lands. The European Hall is meant for corporate events or business meetings at a glass of wine. The Sea Bottom Hall immerses its visitors in an aquatic environment, suggesting that these stony places that underlie Cricova formed the sea floor once. Casamare Hall reconstructs a traditional room of a Moldovan house intended for parties and holidays organization. This is a perfect environment for those who, besides the wine, want to feel the taste of the local culture and traditions. The Fireplace Hall is a room where the glass of wine is enjoyed in a relaxed atmosphere at a fireplace, in a private circle. These halls make their visitors hostages of the Moldovan wine of Cricova, whose taste remains in their memories, along with the hospitable and enchanting environment of these rooms, hidden in the light